The day my mother called asking why I wasn't at my brother's engagement dinner was the day I realized nobody in my family truly saw me. That line kept echoing in my head as I stood on the balcony of my new apartment in Port Novo, for whole states away from Lagos, breathing an air that wasn't thick with expectations. My name is Amina Kuti, 32 years old, wife of a celebrated tech entrepreneur, daughter of the respected Kuti family of Victoria Island, and, at least until recently, the quiet backbone that held everyone's chaos together. People often described my life as perfect. A wealthy husband, a stable marriage, a high society family with influence dripping from their names like honey, a job I could do from anywhere, a face my aunties always said carried grace. But if you looked closely, if you really paid attention, you'd notice the cracks beneath the polish. Cracks only I seemed to hear. Cracks that grew louder once I left Lagos without telling anybody. Not even my own husband. And the worst part? Nobody noticed. Not for weeks. Not until the engagement dinner. Not until it was too late. But before I reach that point, I need to tell you what led me here. Because betrayal doesn't start with a slap. It starts with a whisper. And mine began on a soft Sunday morning. I met Tun 6 years ago. A charming man with a soft smile and a reputation for innovation in the tech world. He had just launched his payment app, Payflow, which was taking over the Nigerian financial scene. Everyone called him a prodigy. I simply called him the man who made me laugh. We married 2 years later in a ceremony that made front-page gossip blogs. A modern love story, they called it. My family adored him, especially my mother, who loved the idea of merging our respected name with his rising empire. For the first few years, things were good. Or at least believable. We lived in a glass house in Ikoyi. We vacationed twice a year. We hosted charity galas. We posted carefully curated photographs online. But something changed after his company received a massive investment deal early last year. Success didn't just change him. It swallowed him. His nights got longer. His business trips increased. His phone became an extension of his body, always face down, always locked tight. At first, I told myself it was pressure. Then I found the first sign. It was a small thing, tiny really. Something anyone could miss. Tund had been in the shower, and his phone vibrated on the granite counter. Normally, he never left it unlocked. Never. But that morning, maybe by distraction or mistake, it was open. A message flashed across the screen. "Good morning, my love." My heart didn't pound. It froze. Stopped. Held still like it was waiting for the moment to make a decision. I picked up the phone slowly. And just when my finger hovered over the message, the screen dimmed to black again, as if protecting him. As if warning me. He stepped out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, steam rising behind him. "Babe, you're awake early," he said, rubbing his hair casually. I looked at him carefully. His smile. His relaxed posture. His eyes avoiding mine for just a split second. Too calm. Too practiced. "Your phone buzzed," I said, voice steady. "Oh." He shrugged. "Probably from Sei. We're finalizing the new proposal." I didn't say anything. He didn't ask anything. It hung there between us like a thin line of smoke. Just enough to hint at a fire. But not enough to prove anything. He took the phone and walked out, humming. And that was the first moment I truly felt it. The shift. The cold. Something was wrong. Something deep. Something intentional. A few weeks later, my mother called me to ask if I'd checked on my younger brother, Kola. He had been planning his engagement proposal for months. "You know you're the responsible one," she said, sighing into the phone. "Your siblings don't listen to me the way they listen to you." I smiled weakly. "I'll call him." But when I did, he said he was fine. I told him I loved him. He made a joke about marriage being a trap. We laughed. But neither he nor my mother asked how I was doing. Not once. They didn't ask why I sounded tired. Why my voice shook. Why I hadn't visited home in nearly 3 months. To them, I was the dependable daughter, the one who had everything, the one who needed nothing. Except I needed the one thing nobody in my family understood. Attention. Care. Gentleness. Things Tund once gave freely. Before the messages. Before the lies. Before the fractures. It was the night I found the second sign, the one that broke every remaining piece of denial inside me. Tund had gone out for a late business dinner. I stayed home, restless, unable to concentrate on anything. Around 11:45 p.m., a notification pinged on our shared iPad, a device neither of us used much anymore. A backup sync was running. One of his messages popped up briefly. Then another. Then hundreds. All from one name, Lydia. I froze. My throat closed. My lungs refused to work properly. I clicked on the message thread. The first message that loaded nearly made me drop the iPad. "I told you she suspects. Are you sure you can get rid of her smoothly? My blood ran cold. Get rid of me? What did that even mean? I scrolled. Another message. You said you'd file for divorce last month. Why are you delaying? My knees weakened. Divorce? We hadn't even fought recently. Not a real fight. Not a fight that explained this. Then I saw the one that truly shattered me. Once she's out, we'll talk to the board. The company will be fully yours soon. No more splitting assets. Fully yours? Splitting assets? My eyes widened. I scrolled further. The final message was from Tund. Sent just 2 hours earlier. Relax, baby. She won't know anything. She never pays attention. Never pays attention. Never. I pressed my hand to my mouth, shaking. He had planned this. Carefully. Deliberately. Strategically. And the woman, Lydia, whoever she was, wasn't just a mistress. She was part of something bigger. A plan. A trap. A betrayal that went far deeper than broken vows. It was a betrayal of trust. Of safety. Of identity. And at that moment, I felt something shift inside me. Something that had been dormant for years. A coldness. A clarity. A strength I didn't know I possessed. Because while Tund believed I never paid attention, he had forgotten something important. I was raised in a house where silence taught you everything. And I had noticed everything. The night everything changed around 1 a.m., Tund returned home, humming softly again, as if he had just won something. Maybe he had. Maybe he thought he did. I was sitting on the living room sofa, lights dim. He paused when he saw me. Amina? Why are you awake? I studied him quietly. The expensive cologne. The faint smear of lipstick near his collar, subtle, almost invisible, but not enough to miss if you were searching. The loosened tie. The look of mild irritation masked behind concern. Just couldn't sleep, I said softly. He nodded and walked past. I watched him go. His steps confident. His shoulders relaxed. His breathing steady. He thought he still owned the room. Owned me. But something inside me whispered, not anymore. Not after tonight. Not anymore. I made my decision before he even reached the stairs. A decision that would change everything. A decision that would eventually make my family call me in confusion weeks later, saying, Amina, why didn't you tell us you moved to Port Novo? And why on earth aren't you at your brother's engagement dinner? Because nobody had noticed. Nobody cared to. Nobody watched closely enough to see me slipping away. Not even Tund. Especially not Tund. And that was his first mistake. The next morning before dawn, I packed a single suitcase, took my passport, withdrew a large but quiet amount of money from an account Tund had forgotten existed, and opened the front door. As I stepped outside, I whispered to myself, You want me gone, Tund? Let me show you exactly what that feels like. I reached for my phone to call a taxi. But before I could dial, my screen lit up with a new message. From an unknown number. One sentence. One warning. One revelation that nearly made my heart stop. Amina, he knows you found out. Don't go anywhere. You're in danger. I felt the air leave my body. My hand trembled violently. Who sent that? How did they know? How much did they know? And most importantly, how did Tund know what I saw? My bag slipped from my hand. I looked back at the house. Dark. Silent. Watching. I whispered to myself, What have you done, Amina? What have you walked into? Someone knows she discovered the betrayal and claims she's in danger. Danger is loud in movies, but in real life, it whispers. That's what I kept telling myself as I stood frozen at the front gate, holding my phone like it was a burning coal. The warning message stared back at me. Amina, he knows you found out. Don't go anywhere. You're in danger. I felt the cold morning breeze brush against my skin, yet my entire body burned with fear. The kind of fear that doesn't make you scream, but makes you think. Makes you choose every breath carefully. I looked around slowly. The street was dark, quiet, almost too quiet. Lagos mornings were never this silent. And something in the air felt wrong. I didn't go back inside the house. Instinct told me not to. Instead, I moved to the side of the gate, out of sight, and dialed the unknown number back. Voicemail. I tried again. Still voicemail. Then I texted, Who are you? How do you know this? No response. I stared at the house again, wondering, how would Tund know I found out? He had been asleep when I left the bedroom. He didn't see me take the iPad. He couldn't possibly, unless the betrayal was deeper than I thought. Unless someone inside my life was reporting to him. A maid? One of his employees? Someone in my family? I tried to steady my breath. No one should have known. Which meant, someone was watching me. And they weren't on my side. Leaving. Quietly, I didn't waste another second. I dragged my suitcase farther down the street, away from the house, away from any cameras Tund might have installed without telling me. When I was sure I was far enough, I finally called a rideshare quietly. The driver arrived within minutes. He looked at me through the open window. "You're Amina?" "Yes." My voice barely escaped. I looked back one final time at the house I once believed was mine. Then I whispered, "Drive." He pulled away. And just like that, I left my old life behind. But what I didn't know then was that Tund wasn't just planning a simple betrayal. He was planning a full erasure of me. A coordinated one. I would learn that soon. Very soon. I crossed state lines by late morning, arriving at the small serviced apartment I had secretly leased a few weeks earlier when the strange messages started. Something inside me had warned that I needed a safety net. A plan B. I always ignored my instinct. Until now. The apartment was small, modern, clean. Nothing like the glass mansion in Ikoyi. But when I stepped inside and locked the door, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Safety. Control. Air. I dropped my bag and sank onto the bed. My phone buzzed again. This time, it was my mother. Her timing couldn't have been worse. "Amina, why haven't you picked up? Kola said you're still not back in Lagos. His engagement dinner is next week. Oh, please don't embarrass this family." I stared at the ceiling. Not a single, "How are you?" Nada, "Your voice sounds different." Nada, "Are you okay?" Just expectations. Demands. Obligations. "I'll call you back, Mummy," I said, ending the call before she continued. Because if she asked even one more question, I would crumble. And I needed to stay focused. There were bigger dangers than family disappointment. I pulled out the iPad and opened the message thread again. If Tund knew I had seen them, he would erase everything soon. I screen recorded the entire conversation, saved it in multiple hidden drives, printed some parts as backup. My hands shook as I read the messages again. The betrayal wasn't just emotional. It was planned, calculated, financial. A message from Lydia caught my eye again. "Once that document is signed, the assets are 100% yours. Her share is gone." Her share. Of what? The company. The house. My own investments. Tund and I had a prenup, but after his company expanded, we merged some holdings legally for tax reasons. I was co-owner on some structures, but I suddenly realized I didn't know which ones anymore. He handled all the documents for the last 2 years. A cold realization crept in. What if he had changed the paperwork? What if he forged my signature? What if... My chest tightened. If he was willing to get rid of me, quietly, financial betrayal was nothing in comparison. I needed help. Someone smart. Someone objective. Someone outside my family. I knew exactly who. The lawyer who owed me I called Amaka Onyuha, a corporate lawyer I had helped years earlier when she needed a scholarship. She picked up on the second ring. "Amina? This one that you're calling me early morning, you have just..." "Amaka." My voice cracked. "I need your help." She was silent. Her tone softened immediately. "What happened?" I exhaled shakily and began. "Amaka, I think my husband is setting me up. And I think he's planning something bigger than just leaving." She didn't interrupt. She didn't breathe loudly. She didn't question me. She only said, "Where are you?" "I'm coming." I gave her the address. She arrived 2 hours later, wearing her sharp navy suit, her eyes scanning the room before she hugged me. "Start from the beginning," she said. So I did. I showed her the messages, the backup files, my suspicions. She didn't flinch once. When I finished, she leaned back slowly. "Amina, this is not small. This is a serious conspiracy." My throat tightened. "I know." She tapped her pen against her notebook. "Your name is still tied to parts of his company. If he wants to take full ownership quietly, he has to either prove incompetence on your part or file for divorce with documented evidence of wrongdoing." Wrongdoing? I frowned. Yes. Fraud, infidelity, emotional instability, anything that would weaken your legal rights. My head spun. Infidelity? Me? I had never even looked at another man. But that wasn't the scariest part. Amaka leaned forward. "Amina, if he wants you completely gone, there are legal loopholes he could try to use to declare you unfit to manage assets." Unfit. The word stung like acid. She continued. "He might even attempt to fabricate evidence." I swallowed hard. "And the mistress?" I asked. Amaka's eyes narrowed. "She's part of the setup. She's helping him gather whatever they need." A silence settled between us. Heavy. Real. Cold. What do I do? I asked finally. Amaka folded her arms. We strike first. For the next 2 weeks, I worked with Amaka in secret. We reviewed financial documents. We traced suspicious transfers. We uncovered hidden company accounts. We found emails he thought he had deleted. Piece by piece, a horrifying picture formed. Tund had been slowly rewriting the narrative of our marriage. He had been moving shared funds without telling me, re-registering my shares under shell companies, preparing to file for divorce, coordinating with his mistress to fabricate evidence that I was unstable, removing my name from company boards, redirecting profits to private accounts, all while coming home smiling, calling me love, buying me gifts, kissing my forehead. I felt sick. But the deeper we dug, the stronger I grew. Because for the first time in years, I wasn't just reacting. I was acting. Planning. Preparing. Amaka created a counterplan. A strong one. A quiet one. A deadly one. Emotionally, financially, legally. But it required something risky. Very risky. I had to let him continue his plan just long enough for him to incriminate himself fully. I had to appear calm. Silent. Distant. Predictable. Essentially, I had to play the same game he was playing. And slowly, beautifully, Tund began to lose control. Cracks in his confidence, he sent emails to my family. Subtle messages insinuating I was struggling emotionally. He called my sister, telling her he was worried about me. He sent carefully crafted messages to me like, "Hope you're taking care of yourself. We should talk soon." To anyone else, it sounded loving. But to me, it was panic, pressure, fear leaking out from the edges of his plan. Amaka smiled each time he attempted something. Good. The more he pushes, the more evidence we collect. Meanwhile, I was moving strategically. I transferred my remaining assets quietly. I closed the account he forgot about. I secured copies of all documents he might try to erase. I moved some investments offshore. I changed my legal address. I updated my will. And I watched him crumble, slowly, quietly, beautifully. He didn't know what was coming. But the universe wasn't done surprising me. Because there was still one twist left. And it came from the last person I expected. If you're enjoying this story, make sure to subscribe to the channel for more powerful African tales. It was evening. I had just finished reviewing another set of documents with Amaka when the intercom rang. The receptionist downstairs spoke softly. "Ma, someone is here asking for you." "Who?" I asked. "A young woman. She said you don't know her personally. But she knows your husband." My heart skipped. "Her name?" I asked. "She said she's Lydia." The room fell silent. Amaka's eyes widened. "Let her up," I whispered. "Amina!" She tried to stop me. "Let her up," I repeated. A minute later, the door opened. A slim woman with anxious eyes stepped inside. She looked nothing like the glamorous mistress I had imagined. She looked tired, afraid, shaking. "Please," she said, voice cracking. "I need to talk to you." Amaka positioned herself between us. "What do you want?" Lydia shook her head rapidly. Her eyes filled with tears. "He lied to me too." I stared. She continued. "Amina, he told me you were dangerous. He said you wanted to destroy him. He told me you were unstable, that you didn't deserve your share. He made me help him gather evidence. I didn't know." Her voice broke. "I didn't know he was planning to ruin me too." Amaka frowned. "Ruin you? How?" Lydia wiped her cheeks. "He promised to take care of me. He said he'd make me part of the company. He said he loved me. But last week," she swallowed hard, "I found another woman. He's been dating her too, planning the same strategy. He told her I was the unstable one." My breath caught. Tund had replicated the same betrayal, the same strategy, with multiple women. This wasn't love. This wasn't infidelity. This was a pattern, a system, a manipulation strategy. Lydia sank to the floor, sobbing. "He uses us, all of us. And once he gets what he wants, he discards us." She looked up at me with trembling hands. "Amina, please, I want to help you expose him." For a moment, I just stared. Not at her tears. Not at her confession. But at the brutal truth of it all, Tun's betrayal wasn't personal. It was professional, calculated, a methodology, a habit. He didn't just want to remove me. He wanted to remove anyone who disrupted his ambitions, anyone who questioned him, anyone who trusted him too much. A chill ran down my spine. Everything I thought I knew was only the surface. Lydia whispered, "He has a backup plan. One that will destroy you completely if you're not careful." I leaned forward slowly. "What plan?" Her lips trembled. "He's filing something tomorrow morning. Something major." "What is he filing?" She hesitated, terrified, to the point that Amaka stepped closer. "Speak." Finally, with a shaking voice, Lydia whispered the words that made my stomach drop. Words that changed everything. Words worse than divorce. Worse than financial traps. Worse than betrayal. "He's filing a petition to declare you mentally unfit, and he already bribed someone in your family to support it." My entire body went cold. And then, before I could react, my phone buzzed again. A new message. From Tund. 4 words. 4 cold, calculated words. "Amina, we need to talk. Tund is filing to declare her mentally unfit, and someone in her family is helping him. There are betrayals that cut the skin, and there are betrayals that rearrange the soul." Tund's message, "Amina, we need to talk," flashed across my screen like a threat wrapped in politeness. I didn't respond. I couldn't. My mind was spinning from Lydia's revelation. He was filing a petition to declare me mentally unfit. Someone in my own family was willing to support it. He wanted to erase me from my own life. A wave of nausea washed over me. Not from fear, but from clarity. This was never about marriage, or love, or even betrayal. This was about power. Tund wasn't a husband anymore. He was an opponent, and if he thought I would break quietly, he had never known me at all. Lydia sat on the rug, still trembling, while Amaka paced like a lioness protecting her cub. Finally, Amaka knelt to Lydia's level. "You said he bribed someone in her family." "Who?" Lydia wiped her eyes. "I don't know the name. I only heard him say, 'Her own blood will confirm it. She won't stand a chance.'" My chest tightened. My family was not perfect, but this crossed into territory I didn't know existed. "Think," Amaka said firmly. "Did he ever show you a picture? Mention a detail? A clue?" Lydia hesitated, searching her memory. "He said the person was eager for influence. Someone who felt overshadowed by Amina. Someone who would benefit from her downfall." The answer hit me so hard I leaned back in my chair. My sister, Zainab, the middle child. Always competing. Always resentful that I was the responsible one. Always craving attention, no matter the cost. A sharp pain stabbed my chest, but I swallowed it. This wasn't the time for emotion. It was time for action. Amaka's phone buzzed suddenly. She read the message and froze. "What is it?" I asked. She lifted her eyes slowly. "Amina, the petition has already been filed." My stomach dropped. "When?" 30 minutes ago. His lawyers submitted it at the Lagos High Court. Lydia gasped. "So soon?" Amaka stood up, fire in her eyes. "That means Tund is confident. Overconfident." She turned to me. "A petition like this needs supporting statements, evidence, witnesses. Fabricated or not, they must be present." I nodded slowly. "So if we disprove one piece, maybe two?" Amaka shook her head. "We're not disproving anything. We are destroying his entire case. At the root." "How?" Lydia whispered. Amaka's voice sharpened. "By proving that what he filed is not only false, but malicious. Pre-planned. Coordinated. A direct attempt to defraud and eliminate a co-owner." Lydia blinked. "But how?" Amaka smiled. "We have his messages." My breath caught. She was right. The same messages Tund thought were deleted. The same ones he didn't know I backed up. The ones outlining his coordinated plot. "This is bigger than divorce," Amaka continued. "This is corporate fraud, asset manipulation, reputation destruction, and now, false legal claims." I exhaled shakily. "And what do we do first?" She turned to me with a calm, terrifying confidence. "We let him walk into his own trap. Later that evening, I finally replied to Tun's message. Okay, we can talk tomorrow. I'll come to Lagos. Within seconds, he replied. Good. I'll pick you up. Pick me up? Oh no. That would never happen again. I responded, I'll meet you at your office instead. There was a long pause before he agreed. Fine. Amaka smiled quietly. He wants to appear in control. Let him. You'll be safe. You'll be ready. And we'll be watching. She turned to Lydia. You're coming with us. Lydia's eyes widened. Me? You're a key witness. And whether you like it or not, Tund is more afraid of you than anyone else. Lydia's lip trembled, but she nodded. And the next morning, we returned to Lagos. Not as victims. As hunters. Tund's office was in a glossy high-rise tower. The kind meant to intimidate. But today, it only sharpened my clarity. I walked in wearing a simple black dress, my hair tied back, zero makeup. Not broken. Not distressed. Not unstable. Simply aware. Tund stood when he saw me, surprise flickering briefly in his eyes. Amina, you look different. I am, I replied flatly. His gaze slid to Lydia, who stood behind me, head bowed. Shock flashed across his face, then anger, then calculation. Amina, why did you bring her here? Because she has something to say. Tund composed himself quickly, offering a small smile. The same smile he used in interviews, the one designed to control the room. Let's talk privately. No, Amaka said, stepping forward. Whatever is said here will be on record. Tund's eyes narrowed at the sight of her. A lawyer? Really? Really, I replied. He looked at me carefully. You didn't have to go this far. I smiled faintly. Tund, you filed a petition claiming I'm mentally unfit. That is farther than anyone goes. His fake concern cracked. You don't understand, Amina. I am trying to protect the company. You've been distant, unstable, missing for weeks. I was worried. I raised an eyebrow. Worried enough to take my name off board documents? Worried enough to rear out profits? Worried enough to coordinate with your mistress to fabricate evidence? He opened his mouth, but I pulled out the printed messages and placed them calmly on the table. His face lost all color. Amaka leaned in. Tund, filing a false petition is a serious offense. Coordinating with a partner to manipulate a board is worse. But the real issue is, you committed everything to writing. Tund snatched the papers. This means nothing. These could be fabricated. The iPad is synced to your cloud, I interrupted. The court will verify its authenticity. His jaw clenched. You think you can ruin me? I shook my head slowly. You already ruined yourself. He turned to Lydia. You betrayed me? Lydia's voice trembled. You betrayed me first. He scoffed. You're both making a mistake. Then, like a man revealing his last card, he leaned his palm on the table and whispered, You think the court will believe you over me? Your own sister already testified. She signed a statement claiming you have emotional instability. My heart squeezed. But I didn't falter. Amaka crossed her arms. Oh, you mean the statement Zainab signed yesterday? Tund froze. How did you know? Amaka smiled coldly. She recanted it this morning. His mouth dropped. What? I stepped forward slowly. Zainab thought you were helping her get a position in your company. But when I visited her late last night, she realized you had lied to her too. His eyes widened. You talked to her? Yes, and she was very eager to sign a new sworn affidavit. One supporting me. Tund's breath hitched. As we speak, Amaka added, the petition you filed is being reviewed for fraud. Tund's entire body stiffened. You set me up? I shook my head again. No, Tund. I defended myself. Tund's downfall did not explode instantly. It crumbled gradually, the way arrogance always does. Step 1. The petition backfired. The judge dismissed the mental unfitness petition within 24 hours. Not only dismissed it, he questioned Tund's intentions. Step 2. Corporate inquiry. Amaka filed a request for a board investigation into fraudulent transfers. The board froze Tund's executive powers pending review. Step 3. Media leak. Anonymously, of course, screenshots of his messages with multiple women surfaced. Nothing graphic. Nothing illegal. Just humiliating enough to question his integrity. His public image began to crack. Step 4. Lydia's statement. Lydia provided a recorded testimony detailing how he manipulated her. It wasn't dramatic, but it was sincere. Painfully sincere. His allies grew uncomfortable. Step 5. My family turned away once Zainab realized Tund intended to discard her after using her. She told my parents everything. For the first time in my adult life, my family looked at me differently. Not as the strong one. Not as the perfect one. But as the one they failed to protect. And that shook them. My mother cried. My father apologized quietly. My siblings hovered protectively. It was late affection, but it was real. 3 weeks later, just when I thought everything was settling, Amaka burst into my apartment holding a printed bank statement. Amina, you need to see this. I scanned the document. A secret account. Huge deposits. International transfers. Company money. Personal money. Even stolen funding meant for a charity project. But the most shocking part? He listed me as a co-beneficiary. My heart dropped. What does this mean? Amaka inhaled sharply. He planned to blame everything on you. Financial misconduct. International mismanagement. Fraud. He built a paper trail that pointed directly at you. My entire body went numb. If I had stayed in that marriage, if I had confronted him emotionally, if I had reacted instead of planning, I would have gone to prison for crimes he committed. A cold shiver ran through me. But then something even colder settled in. He underestimated me. From beginning to end. And that was his final mistake. With this discovery, the board stripped him of his CEO title. Legal proceedings began. His assets were frozen. And the media, hungry for a dramatic fall, circulated the story everywhere. He wasn't destroyed by scandal. He was destroyed by truth. My return. On my terms 2 months later, my brother's wedding finally came. This time, my family insisted, begged, that I attend. My father held my hand as we entered the venue. Your strength humbles us, he whispered. For once, I believed him. People stared at me everywhere I walked. Not with pity. Not with judgment. With respect. Because I wasn't the quiet cootie daughter anymore. I was the woman who faced a giant and didn't flinch. During the reception, Zainab approached me slowly. Amina. I'm sorry, she whispered. I nodded. We both learned something, I replied gently. And for the first time in years, her smile wasn't competitive. It was grateful. A month later, Tund requested a meeting. Not to manipulate. Not to threaten. To apologize. He came in quietly, looking smaller than I remembered. Not physically smaller, spiritually smaller. Amina, he began, voice subdued. I lost everything. I nodded calmly. Actions have consequences. He swallowed. I didn't believe you would fight me. I gave a small smile. You believed your charm was stronger than my intelligence. You were wrong. He lowered his head. What will happen to me? Whatever the law decides, I said simply. But I won't destroy you. I don't need to. He looked up, shocked. You're not pressing criminal charges? I don't need to, I repeated. Karma is already doing the work. He closed his eyes. And I saw the truth. The greatest punishment for a man who thrived on control was losing it. Months passed. I rebuilt my life quietly. Started a small consulting firm. Traveled. Laughed again. Breathed again. I still lived in Port Novo. My new beginning. My family visited often now. Not out of obligation, but out of genuine care. And one evening, while sitting on my balcony watching the sunset melt into the horizon, I whispered the words I had earned. I didn't lose myself. I found myself. Tund once said I never paid attention. But the truth? I paid attention to everything. And that was how I won. The end.